Yeah, it's recording now, I think.
Okay, there you go.
I think for some reason I just couldn't record while I was already sharing. I don't know. Okay. Okay. I think everything should be working as it should now. Okay. Welcome to the November user group meeting. So, close to the end of the year. Here's stuff that's going on. I know it's not as exciting as it's been because we're getting to the holidays, but it'll start getting exciting in January again. So next month there will be a meeting. I will be out of town for December, so Jonathan's going to run the meeting. We'll get all the details for that announced soon on Eventbrite, just like we always do. So we were kind of debating whether we're going to do it or not, but we are going to do it, and he'll just be running it. So same time, same place, same channel, all that stuff. Tomorrow night, there is going to be a Power BI user group meeting. I wasn't sure either, and I got a pop-up that said we really are. So there will be a Power BI user group. The really cool thing is if you guys are interested in the Power BI stuff, tomorrow night will be a good one to come to because not only did we just finish Ignite, but we also finished PASS, which is the big SQL conference. So there's tons and tons and tons of really cool stuff coming to the newest version of SQL. I've also got Power BI swag that I brought back, so I'll bring that with me tomorrow night and we'll get Power BI swag. But that'll be a good one because we're going to be talking about basically all of the updates from Ignite and PASS. All right. So if you want to make it to that, that's tomorrow night. This month's Lawrence SharePoint user group is this Thursday, and our very own Tara Saylor is going to be doing a presentation on Teams. I'm talking about how to use Teams, like what Teams is and functionality and things like that. She's actually going to kind of go the next level and talk about how to organize your team, so more of kind of like a governance approach. So you definitely want to tune into that. They're all virtual now, I think. So if you go to Nate's blog, it'll actually list the information for that, and you can just register for it. The really neat thing is if you register for his webinars and you can't make it, they'll give you access to them for like 30 days where you can go back and watch it later. So if that time doesn't work for you, just go back and watch it on your own. This week there is a new thing also. Women in Agile PC is meeting for the first time. So if anybody knows anybody who's interested in the Agile space for a women's group, that's going to be on there. It's on Meetup. The next SharePoint thing that I know of, SharePoint, Microsoft type stuff, that's local is Office 365 Saturday St. Louis, which will be February 1st. So it's only a couple hours. If you guys want to drive over there for the weekend, it's great. It's on spsevents.org. The other one that I put up here that I thought might be interesting is if you guys didn't make it to Ignite, but you still want some of the information, they do this thing called Ignite the Tour. And so throughout the year, they go to all the different cities for a couple of days, and they basically have a Microsoft roadshow. So these Microsoft employees, some of the MVPs, they go from city to city, and there's different people, but it's all people in Microsoft who are really going over the same topics, like talking about all the new stuff, letting you have hands-on demonstrations, things like that. So it's like a little mini Ignite in all these different cities. The one that's the closest to us that I think is the most convenient is Chicago, and it's coming in April. So if you guys wanted to try and get a little bit of a mid-year Ignite fix, you can pop up to Chicago, and I put the link for that here as well. I'll post this out on the user group like we do every month, so you guys can come back and find it if you need it.
They usually offer a lot of those sessions virtually as well.
Yeah, yeah, and on top of that, we're going to talk about some of the Ignite stuff, but a lot of this stuff is online, so it's super easy to find. Okay. Real quick about me, for anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Sharon Weaver. I run a little consulting firm called Smarter Consulting. We're the ones who sponsor the pizza. But basically I do a lot of Microsoft stuff. I also am a Six Sigma black belt, so I focus a lot on process, and then I do a lot of training. So I have partnered with a lot of people, including MVPs, and I'm a Microsoft partner, so I basically come in, figure out what you guys need, and then find the right person to do the job, whether it's me or somebody else. Make sure you guys are taken care of. Here's my info if you need me. You can find me. Okay. Okay, so I tried to shove what I thought would be like super interesting onto one slide, and as you can see, I kind of got a little overzealous. As I'm plugging stuff on the slide, I'm like, I'm running out of space. I can't put anything else on here. There's a ton of stuff. Okay, so look, there's 87 pages worth of information. Let me click on this so you can see this. Maybe. I was going to try and get rid of that. No, maybe not. There you go. Okay. There is 87 pages of announcements from Ignite. If you go to that link, it's got the Ignite 2019 Book of News. It literally goes one by one through every single announcement for all the new stuff. It tells you what it is, why it matters to you, and when it's coming out. Okay, take everything with a grain of salt. This is software development. All right, but these are kind of the biggest ones that I thought you guys would be the most interested in. So first of all, in the Power Platform corner, Microsoft Flow. This is the first, I'm just going to get it to you now so you can let your brains digest it. Microsoft Flow is now known as Power Automate. We spent a lot of time with the Flow Product Manager. This is what they thought the best thing was. It is what it is, guys. All right. So we are still creating flows within Power Automate. You are. Yes, it is a workflow and automation tool. All right, so Microsoft Flow is now Power Automate. If you see Flow anywhere, it is incorrect. I'm just telling you so you guys can be the smart ones in the room. All right, all of the new swag also says Power Automate. So if you see anything that's got Flow on it, it is now like a collector's item. Okay, you're not going to see anymore. Microsoft's going to pull it all off the shelves. Okay, Power Apps is now Power Space Apps. Just wanted to share that really important piece of information with you so that you don't make that mistake accidentally. It really, I'm not even joking. Okay, here's another cool thing for the Power Platform though. There's a new thing called Power Virtual Agents. If you guys haven't checked out Power Virtual Agents, it is a no-code bot builder for the Power Platform. And it loads directly into Teams. So you can create approvals, you can create requests, you can create interactive bots, and then you can plug them straight into Teams. And then when your people need to do something, instead of getting an email, they just go into their Teams channel and pop up, and there it is, what they need, and it's all specific to the person that's logged in. It's pretty nifty, all right? So it's definitely one you guys should read up on because it's really neat, and I think it's going to kind of replace a lot of the custom solutioning that we've been doing in SharePoint for a long time. So Power Virtual Agents, next hot trend, all right? From an end user perspective, Microsoft's Chromium-based Edge is officially going to be released on January 15th for public consumption. Here's the cool part of it. Everyone's like, okay, well, why does it matter? Why should I use it as opposed to the browsers that I like already? Here's the difference. They're focusing on privacy features, meaning you can do pass-through permissions into it. Yeah. So your browser can now participate in your business platform. Pretty cool, right? In addition, it's integrated with your business content search. So if I go into my Chromium Edge, just happy to go somewhere separate to search for it like SharePoint or Office 365, I can simply go to my Credge. And sorry, I can't say it without laughing. So I go to my brand new Chromium Edge and I can search, and not only will I find people, places, and things, but I will also find content from my business.
Is that in addition to setting up the Bing search in the admin center, or?
It's part of the integrated Bing search.
Automatically.
Yes. There's some configuration that has to happen, but yes. Fun, right? Okay. Another cool thing, I met with the Cortana product manager, and he has really put in a lot of time and effort into human dynamics around Cortana. Him and I talked extensively about this. But basically, he's really excited because he's trying to take Cortana to the level of Google and Alexis and things like that, so that basically it can have a conversation with you. They're putting a ton of time and energy into AI, but Cortana can now read you a summary of your inbox on your Outlook app. So if you go to your phone, you open the Outlook app and you talk to Cortana and say, hey, review my messages. It will actually say, hey, here's some messages that you have. Not only that, but you can tell it what to do. So you can say, can you flag this email for later? And here's when I want a reminder for it, or delete this email, or move this email to this folder using your voice with Cortana. All right, so you don't have to sit and mouse everything anymore. You can just talk to Cortana and say, hey, flag this email, flag this email, flag this email, and it's like, cool, all right, got it. Fun, right?
I don't know if it's a new thing or if it's something I'm behind the curve on and just noticed, but I've noticed that if I send an email to someone and say, I'll follow up with you this afternoon, you'll get a notification from Cortana saying, hey, you said you would follow up on this afternoon.
Yep, we're actually going to talk a little bit about that in Teams. There's some cool features coming. So there's some cool features coming between Outlook and Teams that are going to come pull all that together, and talk about that in just a minute. But it's kind of starting to roll out slowly. So you'll see little pieces of things where your Outlook is a little smarter than it used to be. There is a brand new Office mobile app out for OS and Android, so if you haven't checked it out, make sure you look at that. It's going to be more integrated. So instead of having the individual apps so much, we'll just have one place to go.
All of the apps or the Office?
It's supposed to be the Office suite, but there's some integration between all of it. Yep, so check that out. For development tools, Virtual Studio Online is the new big bang. Basically, you don't have to have a client app anymore, so you can just go directly to Virtual Studio Online to do your work. There's something cool called the Microsoft Fluid Framework. This is really fascinating to me. So if the graph isn't cool enough, the Fluid Framework will allow you to collaborate with all of your O365 resources across everything. Okay, so check out the Fluid Framework if you're coders or if your developers want to know about some of the neat stuff. It takes graph to a whole new level. All right, from an enterprise administration, there's a brand new thing called Project Cortex. Project Cortex is a Microsoft 365 app. It's going to use AI and machine learning to create knowledge network for your company. What that means is basically as you guys plug in content, you know this thing where everybody's like, could it magically take all that information and do things with it? Project Cortex can. Okay, so it's got a mixture of taking content and being able to not just search it based on metadata, but actually having rules around that. And in addition, like if I scan in stuff, it can actually say, I can say this is this type of a document with a content type, and then it'll know where on the page to look for that information. It'll take that information and it'll plug it straight into a list, but it'll actually be content typed. So it'll know that a date is a date. It'll know that a certain type of data is a certain type of data, and then it adds it. So it's pretty neat. So research Project Cortex. So Project Cortex is probably another one of your big hot buttons that you're going to want to look up. Endpoint Manager. So for my enterprise admin people, especially BYOD people, they've combined Config Manager and Intune to create something called Endpoint Manager. And Endpoint Manager is going to let you manage all your BYOD devices from one place. All right, so you can go in there and actually do all your rollouts. And that way everybody can have their own laptops and you've got full control of everything. All right. I know this room isn't quite as excited about Azure as some of my other people, but I still wanted to put it up here because these are big, humongous deals. Azure Arc is something that you probably won't read much about because it's not as sexy as some of the other things, but it's really cool. What Azure Arc is going to let you do is you're going to be able to use your Azure data resources, but you're going to be able to use them in any cloud service. So you can use AWS, you can use Google Cloud, or you can use Azure. You can store it anywhere you want, and Azure Arc will let you manage your Microsoft resources anywhere. So it's kind of a big deal, right? For those people who are like, well, AWS is better. You're right. In a lot of ways, there are things that AWS has that Azure doesn't. But guess what? I can now use Azure resources and AWS and get the best of both worlds. So Azure Arc's pretty cool. The other thing that I thought was really neat was the Azure IoT and Ansys Twin Builder combination. So a lot of people want to be able to duplicate things for testing, performance, safety, things like that. But you can't really truly duplicate things. Guess what? Now you can. So with the IoT and the Twin Builder, it will let you build a full digital twin exactly and for the purpose of testing and planning. So all assets, physical, everything. You can completely recreate the entire structure as a true twin and then use it for testing and planning. So if you need to do performance testing before something rolls out, you want to put it out there and it's something humongous and you're like, I've got all these use cases and I've got all these people and I've got all this stuff that's happening and I really don't know if it's going to be able to handle it or not, or I don't know what the results are going to be. You can build a true twin, run your tests through it just as if it was real life prod, see what happens, get all your results, fix everything, build a twin, shut it down and move it to prod. I think that's pretty cool. All right, got that into 15 minutes. Yes.
You left off one.
Uh-oh.
Probably the most important announcement that they made.
No, I didn't. It's on another slide.
Then I'll wait.
Well, not all of it. Would you? As long as it doesn't have to do with Teams.
It does not.
Then you can share it.
Microsoft Whiteboard now has its own logo and it's in the app launcher.
Whiteboard is now officially an app. Just saying. I've got Whiteboard on the Teams list. Okay. If you guys want to read for a while, There you go. There's a link, all 87 pages. You could just Google Ignite 2019 Book of News. It should pop up. It's a PDF. It's publicly available. You can go through and read every single thing that's in there, but these are my favorites. These are the things that I think matter overall. They're the kind of the spotlights of everything. This will get posted in my blog this week. Soon. As soon as I have 5 minutes to sit down. All right. That said, that was the highlights. Now we're going to talk about Teams today. Now you see why I need 15 minutes. There's a lot of stuff coming for Teams, okay? Teams had like what, 6 product booths? 8 product booths? They took up like half the product floor, okay? Let me tell you, when I say Microsoft is investing heavily in Teams, I mean like it was like half the floor of the product teams was Teams. All right, I talked to tons and tons of people. I got Teams on my nails. They're coming off this week, but all right. So here are the things that I think are some of the biggest and most important. This doesn't cover everything, but this is pretty much all the cool stuff. All right, we talked about this. Somebody mentioned it. Private channels are now available. They should be publicly rolled out. You're welcome. Have a good time. Okay. Pros and cons, right? Pros and cons.
Interesting.
I know.
Create a whole new site collection, by the way.
We have dragged our feet, a SharePoint site. Yep. We've dragged our feet as long as we possibly can, but people have screamed and now they are out. Okay, but it's good because they're going to work the way they're supposed to. Coming next year, there's a lot of really cool stuff. There's only a couple stuff that's out now. Whiteboard integration with Teams is on the right-hand side is now. We do have whiteboard integration with Teams meetings, and there's more to come with that. There's more integration that's going to happen. Those are the 2 things that are now. Everything else is going to be late this year, early next year, sometime in 2020. I'm just saying it now, okay? So you will be able to sync files directly from Teams to your computer next year. Woo woo! So happy, okay?
I've seen that in some of my early release tenants.
Yeah. It's in preview or public preview now. Yeah, but as of next year, it'll be completely public. One of the things that's coming next year is you will actually be able to see rich previews inside of Teams, just like you can. So if you go to SharePoint, you do the rollover, you know how it shows you like the whole PowerPoint. You're going to be able to do that in Teams next year too. So as they said, for over 320 file types. So pretty much everything. One of the big ones that's coming is CAD drawings. So you'll be able to preview CAD drawings. They have an agreement with AutoCAD, and Adobe is another big one. You'll be able to see all the Adobe types as a rich preview in Teams. You will be able to start working with metadata directly in Teams. I've actually seen this in person. It's really cool. So you can actually work with it inside of Teams just like you can in SharePoint. Voila, it's gonna be amazing. The file sharing and permissions from Teams has been a little, it's taken its time, but next year that should get a lot easier. So it will have the same, the share buttons that you have everywhere else in Office, that's all coming to Teams. So you'll be able to share just like you can anything else, but it'll come to Teams. There's some extra things that are coming, like people cards. So as you do chats, the little profile cards that pop up in SharePoint or Office 365, those are going to pop up in Teams next year. You'll be able to see your recent files. You already can kind of see that now, but it's going to be a little easier for you to use. This is kind of cool. Inside of your SharePoint team set activity feed, the Teams activity is going to be combined. So your SharePoint and your Teams will start to be one collaborative entity. So it'll all show up in the same activity feed. So you won't have to go back and forth to look for it. This is the one I was mentioning. Okay, so the teams, and I actually met all these guys. So I met the planner guys, and I met the project guys, and I met the to-do guys. They're all freaking amazing guys and girls, peoples. So they're pulling all of the task-based stuff. Outlook. So if you haven't noticed in your Outlook lately, it's not tasks anymore, it's to do. You should notice that you're going to start seeing to do. So there's to do the app. There's to do this replace tasks in Outlook. There's the Teams tasks, and then there's Planner. Those are all going to be combined in Teams. So you'll have one place that you will organize everything, assign to people, and you'll be able to view all your tasks in one place. And it'll all be in Teams. All right, you'll still be able to use those apps. It'll just all combine. So you can find it all in one place. You're not looking at different things. This one everybody's really excited about. You're going to be able to finally move your conversations from Outlook to Teams with one click. So you know how you got all those messages that you're like, how do I get these to Teams? There will be a button for it in Outlook that will say, you know how there's the little move to OneNote button? I talked to the Outlook guys. There's going to be a move to Teams button. So pop it over to Teams. All right. Yammer is available as a tab in Teams right now. The Yammer application will be embedded in Teams next year directly. So you'll be able to actually have like work with Yammer directly inside of Teams starting next year.
Did you talk to anybody about that?
What do you want to know?
Do what?
Why? What do you want to know?
Well, only because Yammer is, if you have a team, it's connected to Outlook. If you have Yammer, it's kind of separate. So are they going to?
I don't know yet.
Okay. That's good. I couldn't.
I know they're working on some integration stuff, but I don't know exactly how that's all going to play out. I do know that it's going to be better integrated next year. We talked about whiteboard integration. Okay, here's a cool one. If you guys haven't played with Teams Rooms is a brand new function that's coming out. But starting next year, it's going to be able to connect to WebEx and Zoom. So you won't have to have Zoom, you won't have to have WebEx. If you have a client or if you have a partner that uses WebEx or Zoom and you're using Teams Rooms, they'll all connect together. So if they do a private Zoom room and you do a private Teams room, they'll work together, which is really nice because that way you don't have people log in the wrong applications and all that. So that's coming next year. I don't know when. It's on the roadmap, so just keep an eye on it. The end of this year, so the Teams client for Linux is already in public preview, I believe. I think that's what they said. It should be available for everybody at the end of this year, by the end of 2019. So if you have anybody who uses Linux, they should be able to use the Teams client on it by the end of 2019. The other cool thing that I'm super excited about is beginning of next year, multi-window for chats and meetings. So you know how with your Skype you used to be able to pop outs? You'll be able to do that in Teams first quarter next year. So if you have meetings or chats, you just click on them and there'll be a little pop-out button just like there is on Skype. It'll pop them out so that you can have 87 conversations across your desktop like you're used to.
That's the number of tabs you have open in your browser.
Do we have any idea when our contacts from Outlook are going to be integrated in Teams?
I talked to the Outlook guys about integration, and I know there's conversations happening, but I don't think there's a formal, because I asked a couple of questions. That was one of them. I actually asked a couple of questions of a couple different people, and he kept turning and talking to somebody else, and I said, are you not answering my question on purpose? And he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So, I don't know. I asked that. That's actually one of the questions I asked, and I never got an answer. So I know nothing either way. Once again, this will go on my blog soon. Also, I'll have this out on the website for the user group this week sometime, once I get a second to upload it, so you guys will have all this too. Anybody want to take a picture? Didn't take a picture yet? Okay. Fun, right? Super cool stuff. Okay. Today I'm going to talk about Teams 101. I want to be really clear that at this level, I'm just simply explaining what Teams is and how it works for today. I wanted to do this. I thought it was a fairly light topic before we go into the holidays. How many of you guys are already using Teams on a fairly regular basis? How many people are just starting? Okay, good, great. I'm glad you guys came. And I'm sure there's some people online too. I do this because every single day I talk to people, and I have lived in Teams for 2.5 years now. So the day that Teams came out, somebody pinged me and basically, well, the day that Teams came out for private preview, somebody pinged me and said, oh my God, Sharon, you need to be in this. And sent me an email, sent me a link, and I popped up in this thing, and I'm like, this is pretty cool. So I've been living in it for 2.5 years. For me, it's my normal everyday existence. But I talk to people all day, I'm like, oh, wait, do this in Teams. They're like, what are you talking about? So I've come to realize that a lot of people are still kind of catching up on that. So I'm going to go back and try to explain some of the cool things that I've learned as I've come along. Also, I'm not going to stick to the deck exactly, but I put it in here so you guys have a reference for afterwards, if that makes sense. So you guys have reference for it. So I'm going to walk through some of this stuff and then I'll give you a full demo, okay? So the big thing that you need to know about Teams is that Teams is an application. This is where people get super confused. They're like, what's the difference between Teams and SharePoint? What's the difference between Teams and Office 365 groups, okay? Teams is an application. It's its own application, just like Outlook, right? It lives 100% separate from everything else. Nothing technically lives inside of Teams. Much like in your browser, so in Google or Internet Explorer, nothing really lives inside of there, maybe your bookmarks, right? But you're actually browsing to other things through there. Teams is very, very similar to that. It's like a custom application browser. So you're going into this separate application and then you're accessing information and pulling it in. A team is a way that the Teams application connects to an Office 365 group. So an Office 365 group is an AD object, all right? It's a collection of people that are all sharing the same resources, and it has resources such as a SharePoint site, a planner, a stream, and potentially a team, okay? So that Office 365 group is a group of people that's all sharing things together. And a team is just one of those things, right? So the team is just a way to see that stuff through the Teams application for the Office 365 group and any resources that that group is sharing. Yes?
Online says I can't hear.
Uh-oh. I can get closer. We're on this mic, right?
Sharon, you're okay.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. This is Kent. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Nobody's ever accused me of being quiet, so.
No, it's fine. I've
Okay.
good experience. Thank you.
All right. So you are viewing all that content. Here's the thing you have to remember. Anything, because the team is now joined to the group once you set it up, and I'll walk through some of those too. Once the team is joined to the group, they are one for one the same being. All right, they're all connected. And anything that's connected to the Office 365 group is now connected to that team as well. They're all family now. They're all related. And if one leaves, they all leave, okay? So if you create a team and it's connected to an Office 365 group, and you have a SharePoint site, and you have a planner, and you have a stream, if you decide that you don't want any of those, and you say, I don't need this planner anymore, I delete it, everything goes away with it, okay? The group, the team, everything. Right? It's all connected to that. Okay, so what ends up happening is the team allows you to see all those resources through it. And then we have what's called a team, which is essentially related to that Office 365 group. It's the same name as the Office 365 group. It's the same people. If I change the membership of the group, the membership of the team changes as well. If I change the membership of the team, it changes the membership of the group. Does that make sense? If I do permissions in SharePoint for the group, in SharePoint, it's going to change the team and the group. If I change permissions in Planner, if your organization is set up to let you do this, it's going to change the team, the group, the SharePoint site. They're all exactly the same. Okay? Underneath Teams, we can have this thing called channels. I really hate saying the word subsite, but it's the thing that people who have lived in SharePoint for years can relate to the most in terms of subcontext. Okay? It is not truly a subsite unless it's a private channel now. It is not a subsite, all right? But what it is it's subcontext within that team. So the team itself comes with something called a general channel. That's like it's floor one in an apartment building, right? You have to have the first floor to have an apartment building. So the general channel must exist for the team to exist, okay? The general channel is where everybody can go. You can find out what you need to find out. It's stuff that goes to the entire team / group. With the additional channels, you can say, okay, I now want to talk about specifics to things that are people in this team, but maybe only relevant to a part of the team. Okay, so let's say, for example, I have an event and I'm running an event, and I'll show you an example of this. But I only want to talk to people about the food or the venue. I could have a subtopic channel called food. Now, the nice thing is, you as a team member have access to that channel at any time, unless I make it a private channel. I'm going to add little private stuffs in here because it's not quite all the way trained yet. But inside of the channel, if you're a team member, you can see it, but maybe I don't want to follow stuff about the food. I care that it's there, but I don't care that much. Only the people that are on the food committee care about the food committee stuff. So I don't have to follow that channel, okay? But maybe I have another channel called venue, and that's more important to me because I'm on the venue committee. Then I want to follow the venue committee channel because that's information that's pertinent to me. I can still go look in the food channel because I'm part of the team, but I don't necessarily need to be alerted. My content can be stored separately. Okay, so the channels allow you to have context and subcontext around that information. With the invention of the private channels, with private channels coming in, I can now determine which team members have access to which channels. That's really all that does. So if I have all of these channels for this event, but then I have one that's like financials, okay, and I don't need everybody in the team seeing the financials channel, I only want to limit that to like 3 people, I can now have a private channel for financials that only those 3 people will know about, and that only those 3 people will have access to. It gets a little crazy to manage it, but it's there. All right. I'll give you a demo of how this works. I just want to walk through the concepts to get there. All right. So to manage things inside of Teams, if you've noticed inside of all of the Office applications, we're moving away from what we call the ribbon. So the ribbon actually came out in 2010. You guys want to know how long it's been around? Everybody's like, what? We just got it. Guys, it came out in 2010. It's been almost 10 years. All right. So the ribbon came out in 2010. It's been out for almost 10 years, and now we're moving away from the ribbon. We're moving to what we call contextual applications, meaning when I click on something, the menu that I need is what I get. All right, so I don't have to memorize where all the buttons are anymore. I don't have to memorize all the tabs. I simply have to click on the thing I want to do something to, and then I click the ... next to it, and it will tell me the options that I can do to it. Kind of easy, right? A little more intuitive. I don't have to know what my options are. I can simply go to the place I need to go, click on the ... based on my permissions or my role, and based on what I'm doing, and based on the enterprise level configurations, I will get a drop down of all the things I'm allowed to do for that thing. All right, that is across all of Office 365 now. So if you guys are not sure what you're able to do where, look for the thing, click the ... You'll get a menu, you'll get to know what you're allowed to do there. If you think you should be able to do more than that, you're like, wait, I Googled this and there's more stuff on other people's lists. It could be that you don't have the right level of access or the right role, or it might be that your enterprise administrator has configured something for your own safety and well-being, in which case you might want to go talk to them if you think you need more access than you have, or you think you need things turned on or off. All right? So pretty much anywhere you can just go to the thing. So you can go to a team and click the ... You can go to the general channel and click the ... and you can go to other channels and click the ... All right, I'd call it ellipses, but a lot of people don't know what an ellipsis is, so I started calling it the ... because it makes more sense. Right? I say ellipsis and people are kind of looking at me funny. I'm like, it's the ... Oh, okay. So if you click on the ... you can manage things at the Teams level. You can manage things at the general channel level, and then there are other options for the sub-channels, which are the non-general channel. Okay, so those are the ones that you've got options at. So one of the options under the ... is you can create a channel. All right, so all I have to do is click the ... and add channel. Super easy. Okay. Another thing that's happening is that Skype is moving into Teams. Anybody still on Skype? Yeah? Okay. You get Teams also? Yeah? Okay. So you guys are in co-mode then. You're running both of them, dual mode. So what's happening is obviously Skype's going away. It's end of lifing this year, next year, right? Yeah, 2021. So basically next year. It's going away. Here's the thing, guys. If you're on Skype and you're scared of Teams, Teams is way better than Skype ever even thought about being. So like run to Teams. The meetings are fantastic. The calls are crystal clear. You have so much more things you can do in Teams. When I first started using it, I had a WebEx. No joke. Because when Skype messed up, I'd switch to WebEx. Let me know if Skype messes up, I'll switch to WebEx, right? Like, it's pretty normal. After using Teams, switching over 100% to Teams, after like 3 months, I completely got rid of my WebEx. Never used it, not once. That's how good it is, right? No drop calls, no issues. I've had no problems at all. In fact, this is what we use every month for our user group. What's really cool is when we're done, we record the session. It automatically pushes it into my Stream account. I download it and I post it to YouTube. Done. All right, that's how good it is. All right, so we've got this chat option. It's the super intuitive little box at the top by search. Everybody's like, what does that button do? So if you want to go to a quick chat window, it's just that little box with the little pencil right next to search. It opens quick chat. The other place you can go is on the left-hand side where it says chat. Those are the same button. Don't know why. Or if you really don't want to click on a button in the search field, you can just type somebody's name. You don't even have to click a button at all. Just type their name and then start typing to them. Okay? So you can chat in a couple of different ways, but this will let you bring up a chat window. You get all your normal fun stuff. You can post attachments. You can do fun GIFs. Those can all be managed at the enterprise level. So if you guys don't want certain GIFs going out, then you can actually limit that to your users. Most people are pretty good with it, though. All right, like I said in the chat, you can share a file. Here's the really cool thing. There's a couple of different ways you can share files. You can just upload them directly to the team files within the channel that you'd like it to live. There will be a link. You could share the link, just like you've done in SharePoint for years. You can click this little attach button. The really cool with the attach button is that guess where it stores it? In the team. Okay? So it stores it in the team. And then you can have it there, and then you can access it later. The other thing is if you share a file within a chat, it's stored in your history. So you can go back later and look at the chats, and you actually see the files that you shared with that particular person or group. I'll show you how that works. Okay, pretty nifty concept. Because now it's like, I know that so and I shared this file, but I literally cannot find it anywhere, and I don't know what happened to it, but I remember sending it to somebody. Can go back to my chat history, click on files, and voila, there it is. And now I can grab a copy of it and move on with my life and stop panicking, right? Okay, so you can do that. The other thing is you can upload it directly from your computer. So you can just pull it from anywhere and just pop it in there. Just like all the other social media platforms, you can @mention somebody. When you @mention somebody, you just click the little @ symbol. It's going to pop up anybody that's available in your contacts. So this is depending on how it's set up for your AD administrator, but most likely it's going to be anybody that's in your AD. Depends on and whether external sharing is enabled or not, whether you've sent messages to people or not. But when you click that @ symbol, it's going to tell you who you are capable of mentioning. If you mention somebody in a conversation or in a chat, what will happen is it will notify them based on their notification settings. So if they have that notifications are turned on, they're going to get a little pop-up. And I'm going to mention this while I'm thinking about it. People get super confused about this. So we'll talk about notifications in a minute, but they'll get a pop-up if Teams is open. And if Teams is shut down, they will get an email based on the default settings if you @mention them. Okay, so if you're like typing about something and you want to make sure that I know you typed it, @mention me, and I'll get an alert that'll go, hey, you need to pay attention to this. All right, you don't have to @mention people if you don't want to. It's just a way to get people a little bit more involved into the conversation. All right, I'm going to show you this in Teams, but there's something called the activity feed. So there's two options for this. The activity feed basically shows you everything that's happening in all the teams that you are actively part of, based on your notification settings, based on your teams and channel settings. All right, so it's going to show you everything that's happened. The feed part shows you the stuff that other people has done. So other people have typed, other people have replied, other people have mentioned. When you click on that drop down, it switches to my activity. And it'll show you the stuff you've done. So if you've made a comment or you've sent a file, it'll show you, and it'll show you what that looks like. The other thing is you can actually filter it. So there's a little filter icon that will let you look at certain things. So maybe I only want to see all the @mentions that other people have done, right? Things like that. Like I said, these are just up here. I put these in the thing so you can go back and look at them afterwards. Okay, search is really getting good. When this first came out, you couldn't search much of anything in Teams. It's really getting good, guys. You can search in Teams just like you can almost in Google or in SharePoint, where I want to look for something. And basically, if it has anything to do with anything that's anywhere in Teams, it will show up. All right. Once again, I've got my filter option, so I can narrow this down to just messages, just people, just files, just like I can in SharePoint, or I've got my filter option where I can refine it down a little bit further. All right, so search is getting really nice inside of Teams to where eventually we'll just live there all the time. Yeah. All right. And this is one of my nifty little tricks. I'll show you how this works. The really cool part in Teams is that sometimes it's not about a team, sometimes it's not about a group, sometimes it's all about me. I want to have my files, I want to work with stuff on my own. If you go to the Files tab on the left navigation, you'll notice that there's these options for your files. These are things that are yours, okay, your personal files. Anything that has recently gone through Microsoft Teams, so anything, files that have been handed back and forth, files that have been mentioned, tagged, things like that, they'll show up under the Microsoft Teams view. Downloads are things that you've downloaded, right? They'll be there. But more importantly, you can actually access your OneDrive for whatever user you're logged in as directly in Teams. You do not have to go out to Office 365. You do not need to go to OneDrive. You do not need to go anywhere else. You can simply click on Files and your OneDrive will be right there. All right? And I'll show you some other fun stuff you can do with that. Okay. Whew. All right. So now, I'm in Teams. All right, so remember we talked about, here's the search bar up here. I always like to show this up here. So you can search for all kinds of stuff up here. You can search for files, you can search for people. That you guys kind of know how to do. You've done this for a while, right? But what you don't know is in Teams, there's a couple of extra things you can do. So see how it says type the / or @ for a list of commands. A lot of people don't realize this is here. But if you type the /, it's going to give you a lot of super quick commands that you can do right here inside of Teams. So maybe I want to set my status to away, but I don't want to click on the buttons to do that. I can just do / and then click on away, and it'll automatically set my status to away. Maybe I want to see all my unread activity, but I don't remember which buttons I need to click on, right? They're there somewhere, but I'm going to have to go dig for them. I can just do / unread, click on it, done. It'll automatically go find me a list of all my unread information, right? Super cool. So just a neat little trick is that if you push the / you get all these options. The one that I really like the best is help. So if you get totally lost and you don't know what to do, type / help, and it'll pull up the Teams help, right there. The other one you can do is the @ symbol. So if you type in the @ symbol, it's going to tell you the most recent people that you've chatted with, which is really nice because you can just type their name and it will come up. But maybe it's somebody that you recently chatted with, but you can't for the life of you remember how to spell their name, which we've all done. And I'm like, I know this is what their name is. Why is it not popping up? Oh, yeah, it's because it's entered into AD wrong. So if you use the @ symbol, it'll pull up your most recent conversation people. But it'll also give you some other quick options. You can also create apps and then put them here. So if you want to do other quick bots, this is where the bots get real fun, is you can actually define them in here, and then you can just do @ whatever bot you want to use, and it'll just pop up. All right, so some little quick tips. All right, I showed you this chat button up here, so this is exactly the same, whether you click here on this chat. So if I say new chat, it's going to pull up new chat. If I say chat, it's going to pull up. See how it's exactly the same. Doesn't even matter where you're at. All right, this is our search bar. Here's one of the things I don't have in the deck, but everybody asks me about is how do I change my notifications? All right, number one most requested question in every single class I teach. So up here, wherever your face or your initials are, that's 99% of everybody has either their face or initials, right? I tell people to click on their face all the time. All right, so click on your face. Right here, it's where your Skittle should be right there as well. If you click on that, you're going to get more information. And what you want is the settings option right here. It's super intuitive. You would totally find this on your own. And then it's over here under notifications, okay? So these are the default settings for Teams. Doesn't matter if you're in the browser version or if you're in the desktop version. They're all the same as far as the notifications go. What you might notice is if you're on the online version and you guys are following along, that some of the settings are not there. And that's because you get different settings on the client application than you do in the browser version. Things like I can't control my devices from the browser version, but I can from the client app because I might have headphones that are plugged in or something like that. Okay, so there's a few differences. Another thing that I want to point out before I walk through these too far is under General in the client application, I get a few more options. One of them it says on close, keep the application ready. Okay, here's kind of a gotcha. depending on what kind of alerts you want. So remember I said if the application is closed, you're going to get emails, and if it's open, you're going to get alerts. If you have the client application, I don't know why they do this, but by default, that button is clicked, which means that if I close my client application, but that button is clicked, I'm only going to get pop-ups. I'm not going to get emails. Whoops. All right, so I think it's closed, but it's not actually closed. So if you guys want to make sure that it's closed, you have to uncheck that on close button. And then you'll get emails whenever this is closed. If you don't want it, if you're like, nope, I don't want all those emails, I just want the pop-ups. If you click that, then when you close Teams on your computer, it will pretend as if it was still running, and you'll still get the pop-ups. So you don't have to have this open on your computer and hogging. Okay, pros and cons, depending on what you need. All right, so back to notifications. So what this means basically, for every type of interaction that you have in Teams, this is the type of communication you're going to get. So basically what happens is, by default, it has these original settings. Banner is the pop-up, email is me, right? That's all it's saying. It's saying it. So if it's closed, it's the first one, or if it's open, it's the first one. If it's closed, it's the second one. That's what it means, all right? If there's no email, then when it's closed, you don't get anything. There's only pop-ups. If you want to change it because you're like, please, for the love of all that's holy, don't send me any emails, you can go in here and change it to I just only want pop-ups. And then you won't get it. Or I only want the only thing that I want to get an email on is personal mentions. Everything else can go away. I just want pop-ups on everything else. You can change this how you want. All right? So everybody asked me where to change this, so I like to show them. There's a few other options in here you can look at, but that's where you go for your information, your status. Another thing that I want to show you while I'm in here is when you save things inside of Teams, this is where you go to find your saved items. There's all this cute little saved one, and then everybody's like, where do I go? So it's just under your initials or your face, go down to the saved option, and this will take you to everything that you've saved throughout all of Teams. All right. Okay. Questions so far? You guys are okay? Okay. So I told you I'd show you activity. This is activity. So this is the stuff where other people have communicated with me. You can see my name's not in here anywhere. This is other people talking to me. I can filter it down if I need to. So I want to filter it down to something, a certain person. Or I can click on the ... Remember, I told you about our contextual menus, and click on the ... and it gives me what my options are if I only want to see those particular things. All right. The other option I have is over here where it says feed. If I click on the drop down, remember I said I can see just my stuff. So I want to see my comments that I've made in Teams. So I can see where I did something. And this is really handy when you're like, I made a comment, but I can't remember where it was. You go click on it and it'll take you to the right place. All right, so you have those options right there, which is kind of nice. All right, here's our chat. This is our meeting that we're in right now, as you can see. There's people who can talk in the chat. One of the really nice things is it maintains meetings. So if you have meetings where you've had a chat, or you've had a history, or you've got a whiteboard that you've been using, it saves all that stuff so you can go back and look at the meeting later. So this is really great because all the chat isn't just gone. It's still here. All right. You can see this is my recent chat history. If I want to see it by people, you can see who you've talked to. And then once again, I've got my filter options. Same thing. Okay. All right, so teams themselves. Okay, so remember we talked about teams, and the team is joined to an Office 365 group. So this is the team itself. The team itself cannot do anything. There's nothing inside of the team. They're all in the channels, okay? So the team itself, if you think about it, it's kind of just a shell, right? To collect all the information and tell me who's in it, things like that. So if I click on my ... I have a couple of options. I can show and hide in my left navigation. If I click hide, it's going to go down here under hidden teams. That's all it does. It's nothing special. All right. It just cleans it up so that you can't see them. That's all it does. All right. I can manage my team directly from here. So you can manage the team and you can manage the channel. If I go to manage team, notice that I get lots of options. So I can see who the people in my team are. I can add people directly from here. I can see all of the channels that I have, more information about the channels. I've got some basic settings for my team at a high level. I can see some basic analytics about my team, who's using it, how active they are, has it been sitting there dead for 6 months. That's really well. All right, and if I have any apps that I'm using in this particular team, it'll show me what's there. All right. I can add a channel to my team. The add member is the exact same button as the add member in the manage team. Doesn't make any difference. You're just adding another people. It's just a quicker way to get to it. So if you want to participate in a team, there's public teams and private teams. Public teams are available to anybody in the organization. You can join teams and leave teams at will. Essentially, think of it as subscribing. All right, you're part of the team or not part of the team. If it's a public team, it's always available to you in search. You can always find it. You can always participate in it. But if you join the team, you are now subscribing to the content. You're participating on a regular basis. You have more options to interact. Okay. But at some point, if it's a public team and I don't want to participate anymore, I can leave the team. The team doesn't go anywhere. The team is still there. The team is still accessible. I'm just no longer subscribing to that content. Okay. A private team, on the other hand, you can only owners can add people to that team. It is not findable. So you cannot search for a private team. You cannot join a private team on your own. An owner must add you to the team in some way. There's a couple of different ways to do it, but they must add you to the team. So this leave the team option, the join and leave is not available in private teams. All right, somebody has to manage that for you. I can edit the team settings, which is basically like the name, the name and description. Notice down here, here's my privacy option. All right, I can have a public team or a private team. The third option they added recently is an org-wide team. If you do this, be really careful. An org-wide team automatically basically adds the NT Authority group. It adds everybody in your organization. All right, not a bad choice. I personally would use Yammer instead of Teams for this. That's my opinion, but it is there if you need to use it for something specific. All right, so you can change public and private. You can do this on the fly. It's hot swappable. Public and private teams are hot swappable. Private channels are not. All right, so public and private teams, keep that at the high level. We can, and basically all this is doing is determining whether or not it shows up in the directory so that people can find it. It's really all that's happening. Okay. All right. The last thing on here is to get a link to the team. So if you want to send somebody a link to it so they can find content, you can get a link to any content that's inside of Teams, but if you want a link to the team specifically, it's right there. All right. And then see, I've got my general channel. Everything has a general channel, like I mentioned. Here's my notifications specific for the channel. So the Teams notifications is the Teams application. Now within that, I can get specific notifications for the channel itself. So if I want to follow that channel, I can. If I don't want to follow it, I don't have to. It's up to me how involved I want to be. I can manage the channel itself. Once again, there's the information. This is what's brand new is we've got our options for private. All right. What's really neat about channels is every channel has an email address. The team itself has an email address as long as it was created as an Office 365 group within Outlook. Then it comes with an Exchange address. If it was not created in Outlook, then it won't. Although there's been some conversations that might change. Does it?
Yeah.
Did they actually get it changed?
No, it's always been there. It's just that they're hidden. So.
Well, that's the conversation. So.
Well, but there's still an email address.
Yeah, there's still an email address in Exchange, but you won't be able to see it. Yeah, in the groups, right? Or is it popping up now?
It's a convoluted way of getting to it.
Okay, I've had a couple conversations.
And then there's
a PowerShell script you can run on it. Yeah, they were talking about the fact that they're gonna make it. I've had different conversations with different. But you can get an email address no matter what. It's just a matter of whether you can see it in Outlook or not. depending on where it was created. So if it was created in Outlook, you'll be able to see it. Yeah. If not, it's still there, but yeah. The channel itself creates an email address. You can also get a link directly to the channel, and you can see what connectors are here. There we go. So you can see what connectors are available, and you can configure them directly from here, depending on your access and how everything's set up. All right. What I want you to notice is that the general channel has some options, and then if I go to a sub channel, I've got a few more options. It's a little tiny bit different. It's just because the general channel has to exist, so only owners can mess with that, whereas the sub channels, people can add and delete. It doesn't make any difference. All right. So you can have as many other channels as you want. I don't want to call them sub channels. Non-general channels. You can have as many of those non-general channels as you want. All right, and it's all the same thing. Notifications, you can manage it, same difference. All right. So once I'm inside of a channel, one of the things I want you to notice is now we have tabs. I know, so we're getting deeper and deeper. Okay. So now we've got these things up here called tabs. All right. Out of the box, it comes with this conversation tab automatically. All this does is keeps track of people who talk. Notice that the conversation in this channel is different than the conversation that's in the other channel. So we've got separate conversations going on. Same people, same team, different conversations, right? So contextual, topical, around something that makes sense, okay? Within this, I get conversations automatically, and I also get this files tab. And this files tab takes us directly to the content that's inside of the associated SharePoint site, inside of the document library. All right, so there's this little thing right here. It says open in SharePoint. Show me it's in SharePoint. Here's what I want you to see. It's inside of this document library, and the folders right here match the channels. Okay, so it's inside of the document library that's associated with that group, that's associated with that team, and there's those two folders. So here's my tip. Inside the document library, inside of SharePoint, that one that comes out of the box, don't mess with it. Let teams own it. Leave it alone. If you want document libraries, create another document library and just let teams own the one that comes out of the box. You'll just be happy you did. All right. If you delete a channel, the SharePoint content does not go away. All right, everything else goes away, but that folder stays. Okay, so you don't have to worry about the folder disappearing, but the channel will be. If you delete the channel, that's all that stays, is that folder with the content. All right, so this is just files there that live inside the SharePoint site that's associated with that team and associated with the channel. In addition, I can have other tabs right here, so I can make anything I want. When I click on this tab, it's going to tell me what my options are. So if I want to share a separate list or library out of SharePoint, remember, it's still a browser, so you still have to have access to be able to see whatever it is that you're looking at. If it's a URL or a subscription-based something, still going to have to log in. Now, if you have single sign-on turned on and it passes those credentials through, it'll work just fine. But if you've got something that's separate that they have to have a login for, they'll still have to log in. Okay? But maybe I want to share a Word document directly out of this particular Teams files, and everybody's working off of it, or everybody's sharing the same Excel file. I can tab it right here and everybody can see it. In addition, Microsoft has realized they're not the only people on the planet. And check it out. You can also tab all this other stuff. So if you got a GitHub project, or you've got a Jira Online, or you're using something else, right, that you want to share, maybe Adobe Creative Suite, you want to share files with somebody, you can actually tab any of those things, and they'll be accessible by that team within that channel. All right, so you can put stuff up here. It ends up looking like this. Ta-da! Everybody's using the same document. You can actually work directly in Teams. So if I want to edit this, I can edit it right here in Teams. I can open it in the Word app, or I can open it in the online app. Any of those things will work just fine. All right, so I can manage it right there. If I've got a planner, I can link directly to my plan. and it'll show it right there. And I can work with it directly in Teams. And it will update everything the way it's supposed to. Nifty, right? Okay. And the neat thing, once again, is if I go to a different channel, this is a completely different set of tabs because contextually we're working on different stuff, right? Different Excel files. It can be the same file. Maybe we're doing different things in the file. Maybe we're looking at a different part of the file or a different tab of the file. But it can be different for each contextual group. All right. Here's one of my favorite things to show because I think it's super cool. If you're using Power BI, and your licensing is all set up appropriately, asterisk, it's pretty neat because you can create dashboards that show up as a tab in Teams. I've got this set up to interact with, so maybe I want to see different types of data. I want to allow my user to be able to interact with it at a certain level. So I've given them certain filters that they can work with, but I'm still controlling the content in the way that they see it. All right. Maybe I want to share my OneNote notebook with the team. And this is just the OneNote for this particular team. We can edit it right here. They can access it. And then if they go into OneNote or they go to the OneNote app on their phone, there it is. All right. So that's Teams and channels at a high level. You can also see that I can see my calendar in here. This is simply a copy of your Outlook calendar. All it is. See, my boring Outlook calendar. Okay, here's my stuff that I'm doing. I'm at the Office 365 user group right now. All right. So all it shows right now is your calendar. I can set up an immediate meeting with somebody, or I could schedule a new meeting. I'm at this tip of the day. I'm telling you right now, it's coming. It's getting better. I personally still use Outlook to schedule my meetings. There is a Teams button, just like there's a Skype button. I find that that works better. I find that I don't have any problems. I find that it goes where I want it to go and it does what I want it to do. If you go into Teams and do this, let me know how your experiences are. I've still been playing with it. It's just, it doesn't do exactly what I want it to do every time. All right. Now, the one benefit of doing it in Teams, this is the one thing I really like, is if you do it in Teams, you get the option to add it to a channel, in which case inside the channel that you specify, it will have all the information for the meeting right there, instead of having it necessarily on their Outlook calendar. So they can just go straight to the channel and click on the meeting at any time. All right, so that's the one benefit that I do like, is that it pops it into the channel. Other than that, if you're creating just an Outlook meeting, I still prefer to do it on my calendar in Outlook. But then it will show up in here. So this, I have a meeting here. See, it's a Microsoft Teams meeting. I did it in Outlook. It's showing in Teams on my calendar as a Teams meeting. All right, so there is a level of integration. It's just not 100% perfect quite yet for calendars. So play around with that before you use it too terribly much, and then like have to go back and delete stuff and clean it up. There's a section here for calls. So if you're using Teams as as a VoIP or as a call option, you can go in here and you can call people, see your history of who you've called, have voicemails available in here. Just like if you use Skype for your calling, it's the same thing. All right. Here's what I was telling you about the files. This is one of my favorite things in all of Teams. I don't know why I like it so much. I think it's because I have to go so many different places to find things, that now to have all of this stuff in one place is awesome. But so here's what's cool. I work with stuff all day long, right? And I can never find what it is. Now, obviously, I can search in Windows if I really want to. But if I'm inside of Teams and I know that I've been sharing this file inside of Teams somewhere, all I have to do is go say, hey, where's all those files that I've had in Teams, and check it out. It's going to say, here they are. Here's the stuff you put in Teams. Go find it. If I want to see things that I've downloaded recently, I can go here. But the piece to resistance is I can go to my OneDrive directly from here. You do not get all the OneDrive features necessarily that you get if you go directly to OneDrive. There's some really nifty features in OneDrive that you get now. But you do get content directly in Teams. You can go right to it. You can see what's in here. You can grab it. Not only that, but guess what? Microsoft's not the only place on the planet. If I'm using Dropbox, Box, Google Drive, any of those, and I want to be able to see them in here, I can. All right? So if I have a Box account or I have a Google account that I'm sharing with somebody else, one of my clients, one of my partners, and I want to be able to access it all very quickly. My OneDrive's here. I can have multiple OneDrives, but I can also have these other things in here and access them side by side, which is pretty nifty.
As an admin, if you want to lock all that down, you can.
Yes,
So
agreed.
that button does not appear on your Teams to be able to.
Yeah, so if that's concerning to you guys, or if you don't see it and you want to see it, then you got to talk to your admin about that. Pros and cons, once again, pros and cons. All right, and then for the last couple of minutes real quick, I'm just going to show you this. What? That's odd. Look, my Teams is updating as we talk. Where is my... This work. Literally, I checked it right before we left. Thank you, Microsoft. So, what has happened until an hour ago? Normally, I might need to reboot. I mean, come on. Normally, when you click on this ... it should go directly to a couple of extra apps like shifts and some things like that. I don't know what just happened, but yeah. And you've always been able to go to more apps, but normally it has a little couple of pops up stuff there that are pinned. So you can go here to work with other apps inside of Teams. So if you want to use bots or you want to use a different type of app that's embedded, there's also a Teams framework, so you can start to customize things within Teams. I'm starting to learn more about that. I'm excited about that. So that should be there. Let's see. Questions?
They haven't changed the name of the flow.
La, 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 la. I don't know what you're talking about. Let's go back to SpongeBob. It'll take a few minutes for that to all happen, I'm sure. Okay, any questions? Your brain's full up to here? Yeah? Good. That's my plan. I know. It's a lot. I get it. As you play with it, as you get used to it, I'm telling you right now, I'm an Outlook junkie. Always have been an Outlook junkie. And when Teams came out, I was really nervous. And I was like, no, about this thing. Started playing with it. Been really happy. Everybody that I talked to loves Teams. I want to say everybody I've talked to, they've adopted Teams 3 times faster than SharePoint, which was the most quickly adopted application in history. There's like 300 million users on Teams now or something. And it's just, I mean, like the line of, like, if you look at the graph, it's like, right? So everybody's adopting, and they're not adopting because Microsoft's forcing down their throat. They're adopting because it's a really cool tool that does exactly what we need it to do, which is to pull everything into one place, so you don't have to go digging everywhere to find things.
If I might
Yeah.
comment something there.
Yeah.
We just got a clip of a video from a town hall that one of the organizations, several organizations that our company had done. And this manager in this organization was working on a product rollout of the client site. And Teams rolled out in our company like 2 weeks before they were supposed to do this. And so they started getting all of their stuff put into Teams. And she said, as a result of the functionalities in Teams, they had the least problematic product rollout for a client that they've ever had.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's so organized. But that's just the thing. It makes everything so easy. I keep everything in Teams. It just makes everything super organized, easy to find. I don't have to figure out which application I'm using. It all just runs seamlessly together. That's so cool. So for those of you guys who want to do more than use it, maybe you want to have a hand in the making it. So if you guys want to get involved with the product, every Microsoft product has a thing called user voice. Basically, if you Google the product name plus user voice, you'll find it. Most of them are the product name .uservoice.com, but occasionally they're a little different. So if you just Google, like I Googled Teams user voice, this one is, you can see I click on this one a lot. If you go to Teams user voice, so it's Microsoft Teams.uservoice.com. For each of the applications, the product teams have this out here. You can actually go out and you can see what's going on. So if there's anything that's broken, you can go to the bug reports. You can also see that they've broken it down into the different versions of Teams. But maybe I want to go to the public version of Teams. And now I want to see what types of things people want. All right, I want to use multiple Teams accounts at the same time. Guys, we've been fighting for this for 2.5 years. As you can see, there's 12,855 votes. People want this. So I did talk to the product managers. I'm like, I feel like when it hits about 1,000, you guys pay attention. And he nodded. He goes, we do. He goes, about 1,000 is what they look for. So if you start to look at these features, you can look over here on the right and see they've broken them all down by category. But if you want teams to do something specific, include the Office 365 group calendar, things like that, you can look and see what people are asking for. You can vote for these things and help it to go faster. You can make comments, provide use cases. This is what the product teams guys told me. They're like, it's great that you vote, but provide use cases. What is it you want to do and how do you want to use it? Put it in the comments. What that does is that gives them the ability to go write user stories and go build the features. All right, so don't just vote for it, but put your use case in there of exactly what you want it to do and why. And that helps the product managers out a lot to go fight for these things. So vote for it, put your comments in here. You can search through to see if people are already doing it. If it's something maybe not quite as popular, if it's got like 300 votes, just kind of keep watching it. Once it hits about 1,000 is when they really get interested in it in the backlog.
Like I just got a notification yesterday, actually, private channels. I wasn't for it. I just wanted to see when they rolled it out, and I just got a notification saying beneficial. Kind of get both ahead of time or after the time.
So there's one of these for Microsoft, there's one of these for Office 365, and there's one of these for every single product. So you can go out here and you can actually look and you can see what they're working on. They're being very transparent, so we know. The other thing is that way you can learn ahead, right? You can see what's coming and stay a little ahead of the curve. All right. All right. Thank you for coming. I think Jonathan's going to come up and give away tickets. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.
Yeah, they're pretty, depending on the complexity of the ask, pretty responsive.